Hello guys, tonight's video is over solving one-step equations. Now this is something that you guys have done before, so this is just going to be a reminder on how we solve for a variable when we just need to use one step. So what I want us to think of right now is about inverses. So when you see a problem that involves addition, what is addition's inverse? What undoes addition? That would be subtraction. Okay, addition and subtraction are opposites. So if you see subtraction in a problem, in an equation where we're wanting to solve for a variable, we are going to do the opposite and we are going to add. What is multiplication's opposite? The opposite of multiplication is division, the inverse of multiplication, and the inverse of division is multiplication. So depending on what operation our problem involves is going to determine what inverse operation we do to isolate the variable. So the goal of all of our problems today is to solve for, to find the value of the missing variable. So here we have 4 problems. We're going to take them one at a time. The first problem, a plus 11 is equal to negative 14. My goal is to solve for a. I want to know what is the value of a that makes this true. That's great if you can think of it in your head, but that's not what we're learning to do today. I want you guys to learn the algebraic process of solving for a variable, because when they get much harder than this, we won't be able to do them in our head anymore, so we have to have a process for how to do this. So here in my problem, I see a plus sign. I see addition. So what am I going to do to get a by itself? I have to move that 11 over to the other side of the equal sign. I have to get rid of that 11. How do you get rid of positive 11? Well, by bringing in negative 11. Because positive 11 and negative 11 make 0, which is what I want to happen. So if I subtract 11 from my left side of the equal sign, I also have to subtract 11 from the right side of my equal sign, because they're equal. I have to create a balance. I can't change that balance. So now I know that positive 11 and negative 11 make 0. They cancel out, so I'm left with a equals, well, what is negative 14 minus 11? That's negative 25. I can check that answer and make sure it's right. How can I do that? By plugging in negative 25 back into a right here and making sure that it's right. Is negative 25 plus 11 equal to negative 14? Negative 25 plus 11? Yep, it sure is. So I know my answer is right. Let's look at the next one over here to the right. 3/8 plus n is equal to negative 7/8. All right, so here I'm wanting to solve for n. I need to get n alone. So I need to move this 3/8 to the other side so that the n can be by itself. Well, what is 3/8? Is 3/8 positive or negative? It's positive. So I do the opposite of that, and that is to subtract 3/8 to each side. Positive 3/8 minus 3/8, that's 0, so they cancel. So I'm left with n equals, what's negative 7/8 minus 3/8? They already have common denominators, so I leave the 8 there. Negative 7 minus 3 is negative 10. Now I need to reduce that fraction. I always want to simplify my fraction, so I'm going to reduce that by a factor of 2, so I have negative 5/4. That's what n would equal. Do you need to make that a mixed number? No, you do not. Leave it as an improper fraction. All right, solve for D. Do this one by yourself. Press pause in the video. See if you can work it. Then press play when you're done. Okay, I'm going to work this one out, see if it's the same answer that you got. So we should have added 1/5 to each side and gotten that D was equal to 4/5. Because I have a negative 1/5, so I need to clear that out by doing the opposite, which is adding. Let's look at the last example on this page. I have 2/3 equals b minus 1/4. What's my goal? My goal is to get this b alone. I always want to get the variable alone. Well, what's standing in the way? This negative 1/4. Remember the negative, guys. The negative 1/4 is in the way. What's the opposite of that? I always do opposites or inverses. I'm going to add 1/4 to each side. Okay, now my issue here is that I don't have common denominators. So I need to get a common denominator. The common denominator is 12. So when I work that all out, you guys should be pretty good at doing this. I'm going to add 8/12 plus 3/12. That gives me 11/12 is what my b is going to be. I can plug that back into the b and make sure that it is right. You always have a way of checking your answer. Now we're going to switch gears from addition and subtraction and work on some multiplication and division. Okay? So, in this first problem, 9y equals 108, I'm looking for my variable. I want to find it because my goal is to isolate it. It wants to be alone. Right now it's being tied to the 9. What operation is holding the 9 and the y together? Multiplication. Well, what undoes multiplication? What's the glue? How can we separate 9 and y from being glued together? Well, by doing the opposite, dividing. So I'm going to divide each side by 9. All right? So, if I go ahead and divide 108 by 9, I see that that answer is 12. So 12 is the number that goes in for y. 9 times 12 does equal 108. I started with the multiplication problem. I was able to get y by itself by dividing by 9. 9 divided by 9 is 1, so that's how those things cancel. Okay? Let's look at this next problem. Negative 8 equals x divided by 3. I'm going to go ahead and circle my variable. That's what I'm wanting to solve for. Well, right now it's not by itself, and it wants to be by itself. Right now, what operation is going on right with the x? Division, x divided by 3. What undoes division? Multiplication. So watch the way I'm going to show this, guys, because this is the way I want you to do it. I'm going to show that I'm multiplying. I'm going to use parentheses. I'm multiplying each side by 3. 3 divided by 3 is 1. That problem is just this, off to the side. 3 divided by 3, which is 1, so they cancel. So I'm just left with x over there, and now 3 times negative 8 gives me negative 24. Or I could write it this way, x equals negative 24. Either way is fine. All right? Let's look at this third problem, 9m equals 6. Here's my variable that I want by itself, but it's not by itself. It's being multiplied by 9. What undoes multiplication? You got it, division. I'm going to divide by 9. So I get m equals 6/9. That's a fraction that can be simplified further. So let's go ahead and simplify it a little bit more to get it down to 2/3. That's what m would equal. Let's look at this next one. I have 5/6 w equals negative 20. So right now, my variable that I'm wanting to solve for, this w right here, it's being multiplied by what? By 5/6. So what I need to do is I need to divide by 5/6. Now this right here, guys, is crucial. Multiplying by 5/6 is the exact same thing as dividing by the reciprocal of 5/6. So I'm going to multiply this whole side by the reciprocal of 5/6, which is 6/5. Okay, why am I doing that? Why am I not just doing this? 5/6 w equals negative 20. I am dividing by 5/6. That's what you're doing. 5/6 divided by 5/6 is 1, so those cancel. But this is not in a way that's very easy for us to solve. So I'm taking this 20 divided by 5/6, and I know I change division to multiplication, and I do the reciprocal. Okay, we practiced doing that this year. So I'm going to multiply by their reciprocal. Dividing and multiplying by their reciprocal are the same thing. So see how these 6's cancel each other? The 5's cancel each other? That was my goal. Remember, my goal was to get w all by itself, okay? Now I'm going to just multiply here. I can put this negative 20 over 1 so that I'm multiplying two fractions together. Negative 20 times 6 is negative 120, and 1 times 5 is 5. Now I need to simplify that a little bit. So I'm going to see that 120 divided by 5 is 24, and I have a negative, so w equals negative 24. Again, I can plug that answer right in there and check myself. I could do 5/6 times negative 24, and I would guarantee get negative 20. All right, that was one-step equations. We'll practice it tomorrow. See ya.